Cindy up, I failed to mention how I met her. I met her through my wife and through her sister, Kathy Lineberger. So this is Kathy's sister. Cindy is an author, and today she's going to share, she's going to brag about her God and share what he's done for her. Amen.
This is new to me, using this, so I may have it all wrong. I think it's backwards and everything, but it's okay. Oh my goodness, I'm so emotional today, so if I break down and cry, I may not stop. Because this is the church that my sisters and I, my mom, we brought us to church. And so we were raised in this church. My sisters and I were baptized here. Gary and I were married here 50 years ago, next month. And wow. And my dad wasn't a Christian at that time when we were growing up. And when Gary came into the family, he invited my dad to a stop smoking clinic, an Adventist stop smoking clinic. And I don't know if it was at Dorcas building, I'm not sure where it was, because he and Dad went together. Dad stopped smoking. And after years of seeing his kids and his grandkids go to church, he became very interested in Jesus. And he asked my daughters, Melissa and Kara, and Leanna and Mindy, if they wanted to be baptized with him. So they were all baptized right here. This has a lot of memories for me, this church. And actually, the story I'm going to tell is about I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Gary and I were going to church with little children when I was diagnosed, and we were going to this church. So we have a lot of memories here. And then Gary and I moved to council. His work shifted to up there, and I'll speak more about that. But I am so thankful to be here today and emotional, seeing faces that I know, and you coming in to support me and to listen to this, to my testimony today. And I'm just very, very thankful that you're here. So I would like to have a prayer. Dear Father in heaven, I want to thank you so much that you are what you've done for us. And we're asking you that you would come here today. I'm asking you again, come here today. Send your Holy Spirit. Help me, God, to say the words that all of us need to hear, God. Show me, guide me, direct me, and lead like you always do. In thy name, amen. Okay, in 1519, we're going to go back a few years, Hernando Cortez, Spanish explorer, and conquistador arrived on the coast of Mexico near Veracruz, intending to claim the land occupied by the Aztec Empire for Spain. He had 11 ships, 13 horses, and 500 men. And what I know about traveling on a ship, what I've read, it was pretty tough. I'm sure some of the men died, a lot of sickness, disease, and things that went on. But actually, in spite of even what they had been through coming from Spain to Mexico, it got worse for them. Because what happened when the ships reached the shore in America, Hernando Cortez told the men, I want you to run the ships ashore. And I guess running the ships ashore means that these big ships, that they couldn't pull them back out. And when they ran the ships ashore, what happened, the guys went, all the crew, the 500 men went on the shore and probably took all their food and their clothing or whatever they needed. And Cortez had guys burn the ships so they couldn't leave. And so this is what it said. I want to read this so I don't get this wrong. Then he had the men burn the ships. This radical act was a demonstration of determination and a clear message to his men. The only option was to advance and conquer. As there was no turning back, I really wonder because there was no turning back. I mean, they couldn't go home. They'd lost everything. They'd lost their families. How could they go back? I mean, all they could do is go forward. And even though I don't agree with all the bloodshed that happened, because I guess that act, it changed Mexico. That changed Mexico, because the Aztecs, they were the ones that had conquered, and they had their empire there. So I'm using this story as a metaphor, because in 1980, I felt like those men on the ships. I had been to the Dr. Brown, he was a neurologist, and he took the test because I'd been feeling sick for quite some time. And he told me that he diagnosed me with multiple sclerosis. And I thought, wow, and he told me, actually didn't give me any hope. He told me that I was possibly going to be in a wheelchair because I was very sick, and that if the sun bothered me, and I was a very outside person, I still am, that just to go inside and close the curtains, because, if the sun's bothering you, that's what, you need to do. I was so discouraged and depressed. I was 24 years old, very discouraged and depressed. And so the doctor gave me no hope. And really, actually, my parents didn't have any answers. My friends didn't have any answers. In fact, they gave me recommendations that they didn't help me at all. And so I did my own research. I decided to do my own research. And I found out that the MS was the myelin sheath around your nerves. It was deteriorating in my body. And I was scared to death. I had 2 little girls, 3 and 4 years old, and I was so afraid, so very afraid of what was going to happen to me, not only to me, but to my family. I'd been married to Gary for 6 years. And so I asked, why? Why is this happening to me? I'm sure we all ask that question sometimes because we all have things in our life. But at that time, I was 24 years old, and what I wanted everything to go back to normal because I was so afraid. I couldn't believe that this was happening. And so I found out through life, and this is what I found out, that things never went back to normal the way that I thought that they were supposed to. And God wanted a different life for me, more abundantly than what I had planned, just like He does for all of us. So in my experience, it taught me to be an overcomer in life, because don't we all have things that are thrown at us? But I learned tools that have helped me with every experience in life. And I want to share 3 of those points today with each of you, maybe to give you a boost, to help you out, and maybe you can learn a little bit from that, from my experience. So my first point, I want to talk about wisdom. We can all have wisdom and knowledge, but you know where I gained it? I gained it from God. So I want to read Proverbs 2, 1 through 7. I turned to God because I didn't have anything else to turn to. Honestly, I felt like there was nothing else. No one else could help me. No one else had answers for me. So I want to read Proverbs 2, 1 through 7. My son, listen to me and store my commandments in your heart. Turn your ear to wisdom and your heart to understanding. Call out to wisdom and plead for understanding. Search for wisdom as if you were searching for silver or hunting for hidden treasure. I love it. Then you will understand what it means to reverence the Lord and will find the wisdom which comes from God. You will acknowledge that it is God who gives wisdom. He is a source of knowledge and understanding. He holds wisdom in store for the upright, and He shields the blameless. This was a godsend for me to find this. Kathy and I and Dee, we were raised, well, my dad wasn't an Adventist, and my mom brought us to church, but it wasn't until much later that I really knew who Jesus was, and to open His Word and really find out His promises. In fact, I read so much of this that I really wore out a Bible, because I was trying to find answers. So that is something that I learned as I was reading this, that it wasn't just speaking to God. I had to listen to what he had to say to me. And I really am not a very good listener because I want to talk all the time. I want to speak. So God taught me to listen to him. And when I learned to listen to him, he taught me a lot. He taught me really a lot. So that is my first point that I want to bring out. My second point, oh wow, not going to bring out the second point yet. I didn't read my notes. So Gary was working out of town at the time. He was working up at council. It was before we had moved up there. And so I was living with my parents. And I eventually invited my 12-year-old cousin to live with me so that she could help me because I was very sick. And so it gave me time to study and to research because I went to the library and I checked out books because I was really trying to figure this thing out. And this is a very important story. This is why I don't want to go to the second point yet. My grandmother, which was not a Christian at that time, she called me up. And I was on the phone. And we didn't have cell phones in those days, but she called me up on the phone and she said, Cindy, she said, I received a newsletter from Total Health Foundation that's called Impact. And she said, I think you need to read this. She said, on the front, there's a man jogging, and he was sick, and they've helped him. And she said, can I bring it over to you? So that's what happened. She brought it over to me, and I was laying on my bed, and guess what? I had the curtains pulled. And when she stepped into my room, and I got off my bed, and she gave me that newsletter, and this is the honest truth, I took the newsletter, and in between those curtains, there was a beam of light came down and shone. The light was on that front page, and it was a man jogging. And I thought, I could be that man. And I was just so incredulous that Grandma would bring this over to me. And this was a Christian foundation that were helping people. They were doctors that had been to, that had been practicing, and they felt like they wanted to help their patients even more. So they were helping. So they created Total Health Foundation. Well, I read it and I thought, I want to go there. So I called Gary. He was working 100 miles away. We decided to go together. And we spent our time apart. Gary and I, he was working away from home. Our relationship was, he probably thought it was fine, but I didn't. I had 2 little children at home, and I was lonely, and he wasn't there. He felt like he wasn't there for me. So I was holding a lot of resentment, believe me. And then I even remembered, as I was studying, that when I had gone to Jim State Academy, there was a book that the Bible Docs teacher had us read, and it was Ministry of Healing. I pulled that out of my bookshelves, and I read it. So I learned about the 8 laws of health, and I thought, I've got to implement those into my life. So I tried it, but I really didn't know how to do it. I was doing my best, and I thought, and I prayed again, God, help me with this. So Gary and I went to Total Health Foundation, and you know what? This man, Tim Sanders, that was on the front of jogging, he was an oral surgeon. He did the swine flu vaccination. He had that. And what happened, he was one out of, hundreds, that he became sick. In fact, I'm not a medical person, so I always call it Guillain-Barré, but it's not. It's Guillain-Barré. Is that, okay. So you that are medical, you know. But anyway, there were 2 French guys, that was their names. So the syndrome, it paralyzed them. It paralyzed him. And he couldn't even breathe, so he didn't know what he was going to do. So his brother had heard of Total Health, and he said, brother, I'll take you to Total Health if you'll come. And so that's what happened. He went to Total Health Foundation, and he learned all the 8 laws of principles. They had him up walking 3 times a day, and within a very short time, he was jogging. And so when I heard that story, I'm like, we're going to Total Health Foundation. I need to do this. And when Gary and I got there, we learned so much. It was just an answer to prayer for us. In fact, there was a doctor there, Dr. Sloop, that he gave Gary and I marriage counseling. And he said, your marriage was born in heaven. He said, you need to act like it was. He said, you need to live together. So we moved 100 miles after I got back home. After Gary and I got back home, then we moved to counsel. And you know what we learned? The most special thing that we learned during that time? Gary and I learned to pray together. So even though he was working 100 miles from home, he would call every evening and we would pray together. And the stability that made in our lives because we got on the same page. And part of that was because when Gary would pray, I understood him more because I understood what he told more to God than he did to me most of the time. And so when I started implementing all these 8 laws of health, something happened. I started feeling better right away. And so it took me 10 more years, actually, to completely heal, honestly, because I had to learn more wisdom, more knowledge, and I just didn't get a lot of it. So God had to work with me and help me continue to help. And I just want to say, Jesus never forsakes us. He never leaves us. It's just like the snow and the rain that come down. I mean, the seasons are always going to be here. It's the same today. He's the same today, yesterday, and forever. We just need to listen to him. We just need to remember to listen. The second point for today is taking full responsibility. This is something I had to really think about, taking full responsibility for myself. Because sometimes we know things, but we want someone else to do them for us. And I became a life and relationship coach. I saw this completely across the board. Some took the responsibility, some didn't. But I'm telling you, the ones that took the responsibility, they were the ones that got well. That take the responsibility of figuring out their disease or figuring out their problems and reading about it and trying to figure it out. They are the ones, and they didn't leave it up to anyone else. So as I was sick, I'm going back to when I was just really sick and I was really studying and I was just asking God to lead me. And I had read like in Ministry of Healing, there is a paragraph in there that talks about taking responsibility for yourself. Well, I had read in the Bible, I was reading all about the Bible characters and how if you healed them, Jesus, when you were there, won't you heal me? Aren't I just as valuable as those people in the Bible? And the more I read, the more I understood that I was just as valuable as any of those people were. And he's the same today, yesterday, and forever. Well, then I went back and I read about Daniel and his companions. And I'm telling you that when I read that story, I was amazed because these were just 3 teenagers that were taken out of their country. I mean, out of Judah into Babylon. They were completely taken away, and they were teenagers. They were castrated, and their names were changed because they wanted to change their names because they wanted them to be servants of Baal. I just find that so fascinating. And so they were taken out, and I guess my understanding is that these 3 boys, or these 4 boys, actually, there were 4 boys that I'm going to talk about, they were a part of the royal descent. I don't know if you know what that is all about, but that's what I read in the Bible. So Nebuchadnezzar wanted these boys to be the strongest, the most handsome, and most intelligent in his court. So he had them eat the white meat, the king's food, which was white meat, and their wine. And Daniel was like, no, it's not going to work for me. That's not going to work for me. That's not what I know. That's not what I know. I'm not going to do that. So he went to, his name is, let me get this right, Melzar, which was, he took care of the 3 Hebrew boys, or 4 Hebrew boys. He was the one that was in charge of them. So Daniel went to him and said, hey, look, I don't think that's going to work for us. We want to eat the Hebrew food. Will you give us just 10 days and see what happens? And see how we are compared to the other boys. So what happened? That's what happened. And they were stronger, more intelligent than any of the other boys that were a part of the captivity. So, after 3 years, Nebuchadnezzar himself, he gave the oral examination for all of these boys, okay? I'm still flabbergasted about boys being able to do this and taking responsibility for themselves. I mean, in a foreign country, taken away, even their names taken away from them. And did you know that they were found, Nebuchadnezzar found them stronger, healthier than anyone else? And you know what? After I read that, I thought, they took responsibility for themselves. They took responsibility for what they thought was the right thing to do in their lives. And you know what? It's the same for us today. And this was my question. God, if I do that, because all the stuff I'm learning, would you please show me and guide me to healing? Because I want it desperately. So I made the decision that I was going to do everything I could to do it. And I found out very much about God's law, his health law, during this whole thing. And the health law is just like the law of gravity. If we don't abide by the law of health, then we suffer the consequences for it. So after I decided to implement all those 8 laws of health, I'm a perfectionist, I have to tell you, so let me tell you, it was the letter of the law. Ask my daughters. They couldn't even eat a cookie because if I was going to do it, my daughters were going to do it, and they said that my cooking was terrible during that time, which I know it was, and we still eat a lot of the same things, but I learned to be a better cook, I'm hoping. But anyway, but I prayed. And I learned to pray an extraordinary prayer during this time because I needed God so desperately. And he took me on more of a journey. And this is what he'll do for all of us. So I had heard through the grapevine that Dr. Sang Lee, because during that time we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have a lot of information being passed between all of us, but I'd heard that Dr. Sang Lee was going to be at Gym State camp meeting. So the girls and I packed up our car. We came down to Gym State Academy, and I sat through his lectures, and they were life-changing to me. And I couldn't imagine believe that this doctor was talking about his personal circumstances. I mean, he was telling about his life and how his wife had divorced him and left him and how it made him feel and what was going on in his life. He also told me that he was so angry over all of it because the wife, he had been an allergy specialist and he made a lot of money and he decided he became a Christian. He went to Weimar, and can you imagine how much money he made then? So wouldn't that make any wife a little angry? So she became very angry, so she left. She left him and the 3 children, and he was so angry about it. He said he couldn't even tell us the whole story because he was so angry. But he said this is what helped him. He said he had loudspeakers in his ear, and he called them satanic voices that were telling him all these things of how he was supposed to feel, what he was supposed to do. And he said, I decided I was going to combat that. I was just going to go forward and combat it. So what he did is he learned praise songs, worship songs. He said he sang them out loud, and then what he did is he learned to pray extraordinary prayers. He said at first they were loud, and then they got dimmer and dimmer and dimmer till that all went away. And I was listening to all of this as he was talking, and I thought, I have resentment too. Gary's been working away from home. I don't have anybody to help me with these little girls. I was just mad. And I thought, I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn what he is trying to tell me. So I bought his cassette tapes. There were cassette tapes in that time. I know that means I'm really old, but that's the way it is. Later on, I bought his DVDs. But he also told us, I want to tell you this, he told us that we can change our genes in the environment that we put our bodies in. And that's called epigenetics. That was back in the 80s, and that was even before they were teaching that. And I'm just so grateful for that because it gave me so much hope. He also said, he told me, he said, Cindy, if you have damaged your genes by lifestyle or your mindset, he said, you can heal them. He said, do not worry about it. He said, what you need to do is you need to do those 8 laws of health. He said, change your mindset. Forgive people. I was like, okay. So that gave me fuel. He was the first doctor that had given me hope. He had given me hope that I could change. And I just have to say, there is more to this. And if you want to read the full story, and I talk about Sangli because he really was the one that gave me the direction in life. Get my book's on Amazon, because then you can read the whole story. And it's a really inspiring story about Dr. Sangli. Now my last point, which would be number 3, I want to ask you guys, is your mindset fooling you? You know, we're all raised with a mindset because of our younger years and the things that we've gone through, teachers, parents, whoever we're around. We learn all kinds of things. And so I want to read in 2 Corinthians. And this is so interesting because I went to Pastor Lou's Sabbath school class today, and he mentioned a lot of these things, and it's just so interesting how this all works, how God just works with us all. But it's 2 Corinthians 10, 4 through, 5, I think. The weapons we use in our fight for right, can you believe that? The weapons we use in our fight for right are not the weapons of the world. Our weapons come from God, against whom nothing can stand. We destroy all false arguments and every device used by men against the knowledge of God, and we capture every proud thought to bring it into obedience with Jesus Christ. You know what I learned? I learned that we all, from those early years, we take on agreements, which these agreements are like, oh, I'm a failure at everything. I'm too fat. I'm too skinny. I'm not smart enough. We take on all of these agreements. And as we get older, we even realize those agreements even more. They're repeated over and over in our lives, so they go deeper and deeper and deeper in our hearts. And they're lies, because this is what I found out, that I learned to tell the truth, and I'll tell you more about that. I learned to tell the truth to myself and to other people. And you know what my agreement was, the big agreement was? I'm never enough, or sometimes I'm too much. I never know what I am. So I've worked on this my whole life. I've just worked on it. And I learned that when I started telling the truth, and when I learned the truth about Jesus, it gave me freedom and it gave me clarity. And Satan is out to destroy us, kill, steal, and destroy, and he will do everything to confuse us, right? And so if we're feeling confused, these are just red flags. God brings clarity and he brings freedom to our lives. Our daughter, Kara, she's married to a pastor, and at the time I'm telling this story, they were pastoring a church in Jacksonville, Florida, and Gary and I were visiting them, and they were having testimonial on the Agape Feast, and Kara came up to me and she said, "Mom, can I tell the testimony of when you had MS?" I'm laughing because some of the things I just can't believe that. She said, can I tell the testimony of when Melissa and I were young and how you had multiple sclerosis and how it affected our family? And you know what my thoughts were? It didn't affect anyone. My multiple sclerosis didn't affect anyone. I kept it from the church members. Sandy went to my church at that time. Did you know about it, Sandy? Sandy didn't know about it. I kept it all. I lived far enough away. But guess who knew about it? My daughters knew about it, and my husband knew about it. And of course, my immediate family knew about it. But I tried to keep it away because this is what I thought. If I do everything I'm supposed to do, then I'll get well, then no one will ever have to know that I was ever sick. Does that sound like a perfectionist or what? And so, anyway, I had a lot to learn, believe me. So anyway, Kara got up there to tell the testimony. She had on a dress with little blue dress. Her hair was hanging down. She looked like 8 years old to me, okay? And when she told the story, I thought, this is right. This did happen. It's all true. And of course, I started boo-hooing. And so I left and I went outside and I said, God, why am I crying? And he said, you're crying because this is your story, Cindy. You need to tell. You need to tell other people so you can help other people of what I've done for you. And I was like, you're right. I just got so tired of the identity of it. And he said, have courage. I'm taking your hand. I'm right beside you. You don't have to worry about it. And so, anyway, as the years went on, I learned that I buried that so deep, and I just wanted to go on with life because that was a very dark time for me. We all have those dark times, right? And I just wanted to forget it all. But guess what? I was working at the time, and I loved my employer, and I thought, so I decided to be a life coach. So I went to school, took classes for being a life coach, and I knew that I couldn't do both. I just knew that I couldn't. So, because guess what? Being a life coach, I had to work on me first, okay? And so it took a lot of time. So anyway, I didn't know if I wanted to quit this job or not. But guess what? It came even more to my attention that I was a pleaser. I had the personality. I had a pleasing personality. I didn't have any boundaries. I had started creating those over time, but I didn't, and I had lost my autonomy. I was building it back because I had lost a lot when I had MS, and I was building all of that back. But I had this pleasing habit that I did, and I didn't want to disappoint the employer. So what I did is was reading a book, and it was by Dr. Gaber Mate, and it was When the Body Says No. Boy, that makes a lot of sense. When the body says no. You know what happens? Our mind, our head, is very connected to our body. And even if our brain is telling us that something's okay, the body will always show up, whether you're sick or whatever. Because don't we want to do everything, survival of the fittest, go forward and do everything on our own? Well, guess what? Our bodies will tell us, hey, look, something's not right here. There's a red flag. And that's what God was trying to tell me when I had multiple sclerosis. All along, and this is what I'm saying, when I became a life coach, I learned more from my clients, why I got sick, and how I recovered through my clients. And God is just so good. And I just want to bring this to you today. So this pleasing habit was just, God was just working and working with me. And, I want to tell you about a dream I had, that God was still working with me. And we've all had dreams that are more real sometimes, and we wake up and we think, was that from God? Well, I feel this dream was from God. I was at my grandchildren's grandparents' house. Allie, it was your grandparents' house. I don't know if you've ever heard this story before, but it was in their home, and we were all sitting around, and we were enjoying each other so much, and we were laughing, and we were having such a great time. Well, I looked in the corner, and there was a girl. She was about 4 foot tall, and she had hair about down to here, and she had a round face, and she was smiling at me with these piercing eyes. And I did not like it at all, because everywhere I went, she was looking at me, and no one else seemed to notice her. And I was like, what? Who is she? What is she doing here? Well, she followed me around for most of the day in this dream, okay? And we spent the night there. I won't go into detail about any of the other part of the dream. Well, the next scene of my dream, I was on my knees, and I was looking through a chest of drawers that was my great-grandfather's that I had refinished, and it had my art supplies in it. And I have to set up this a little bit because I have a sitting room. I call it my sitting room because it's my room, and it's Victorian. And I love it because I've done a lot of artwork in there. Well, and it has windows. It has 3 windows, and it's the lightest room in the house. So I've done artwork there, Zoom calls, all these things in that room because it's got so much light. Well, I was down on my knees, back to my dream. I was down on my knees, and I was looking through my drawers and with the art, and I saw something out of the corner of my eye. And when I looked up, there was like a fog or a mist coming towards me out of those windows. I thought, what is that? I thought, I've got to stand up. If I don't stand up, it's going to surround me, and I don't know what's going to happen. So I tried to stand up again, and I couldn't stand up. And I heard a voice behind me saying, "Stand up, Cindy, stand up." I mean, it was loud. It was a loud voice. Stand up. So I tried to stand up, and I knew that what was in the middle of that mist was that little girl. And I said, in the name of the Lord Jesus, leave me. And it left. And when I was standing up. And so I immediately woke up. And the first thing I remembered of that dream was what God's voice telling me, "Stand up, Cindy." And you know what verses I remembered? Pastor Lou brought this out this morning. It's in Ephesians 6. And I want you to see how many stands up there are in that verses. It's Ephesians 6. And some versions may not say stand up, but some of them refer to that. And they also, I noticed that some of them do say stand up. So I want to read that. I want to read some of these verses. I can't read it all about the armor of God, but the armor of God is so important. And who is that armor of God? It's God himself, right? So finally, be strong in the Lord and stand in the power of his might. Put on every piece of spiritual armor the Lord has given you so you can stand your ground against the devil's schemes. We're not dealing with an enemy here on earth that we can see or get our hands on, but with the darkness of spiritual beings who were once in heaven and are now using their authority and power to try to rule the world. That's why you must put on the whole armor of God and stand, not giving an inch of ground, so when the fighting is over, you'll still be standing. Therefore, stand. And I'm not going to read the rest. Go home and read that, but isn't that beautiful? He's telling us to stand up. And I feel that Daniel, he had to stand up. He had to make that choice to make the stand, to stand up. And that was so, that meant so much to me to read that story. And that was kept over how many years for me to read. Today, I want to give this message to you guys, to stand up and to do what you think is the right thing to do with your health, with finances, or, it can be anything, because all of us have different issues or different challenges that come our way. So I want to go over the 3 that I've just mentioned. Finding wisdom and knowledge. Number 2, being responsible for yourself. And number 3 is changing your mindset to a positive mindset to ward off the enemy. Do some studying about a positive mindset. It's not just about being positive in all the words you're saying. There's much more to it, because being a pleaser, I wasn't telling the truth to people. I was passive aggressive. I was telling them what they wanted to hear. We all want to please because we want to help out people. We want to, because we love them. We want our loved ones. But to have the personality, the pleasing habit, let me tell you, we're passive aggressive, and we let everyone know, hey, I'll do whatever you want me to do. And it's a lie. We're lying to ourselves. We're lying to them. So stand up for yourself, because your body knows what you're telling it. Your body knows. So God won't make us do anything that we don't want to do. He gives us the choice. Yeah, he does. So I'm asking you guys today, are there any boats in your life that you need to burn? I'm still burning some of mine, but I want you to know that when you do, it brings freedom and pure joy. And so I want to close with Isaiah 43. I love this verse, these verses. 40, starting with 18 through verse 21. Don't just think of what I've done in the past and focus on what happened then. Watch for the new beginning I'm going to do. It's already beginning to happen. Can't you see it? I will make a road through the wilderness and give you streams in the desert. Wild animals, jackals, and owls honor me for giving them water in the desert. I give water to my people. They are grateful for what I do for them and sing my praise. I want to just have a short prayer. Father in heaven, thank you for this time that I've been able to say my words of life, God, that you've given to me. This testimony, Lord, is something, these are things that have happened a long time ago, but you're continuing to help me through life, God, and I'm praying for this for all the people in this congregation today. Talk to their hearts, Lord, and lead them and guide them to a new life. This is my prayer in thy precious name. Amen.
Closing song.